So the S got a pretty massive brake overhaul recently, and I was able to get it all squared away just before making a quick trip to the Bay, where I visited a lot of like the major like highways. Oh, the trees! That are up there, and it was such a vibe, man, because the views are crazy, like the roads are amazing, like the drivers are rowdy. Shoo! And it's just like such a cool, special place to be. So I just start geeking like just thinking about it. But if you want to watch me spaz out on some really cool roads, definitely check out the last couple of videos. But today I wanted to kind of go over some of the major kind of braking changes I was able to make on the car before heading out. So I ended up taking care of this over a couple of days, but let me kind of just show you where we started. So in the fronts, I'm actually not 100% sure what the setup is. I do know that they need to be replaced, and you can kind of see the grooving from right here. Like those should definitely not be there. And the rotor itself just looks pretty thin, so I'm gonna assume that they need to be replaced. As far as the pads, oh, these are OE. These should, yeah, you can see the little Nissan logo right there. These should be OE pads. So that's the front. In the rear, I know that these are definitely aftermarket rotors, although I'm not 100% sure what the brand is, and I have no idea what pads we're running. So once we take it all apart, we'll have a better idea. So on day one, I got the car up in the air and started pulling everything apart and inspecting the setup, as well as kind of the suspension and everything in sort of that general area. And everything looked good for the most part. I mean, nothing really to report, which is actually good news because the car has 120,000 miles on it these days, but I ended up getting rained out, so I decided, you know, no big deal, just kind of clean up and hit it again tomorrow. The next day, I started kind of working on it pretty early, pulled the wheels, loosened the calipers, you know, pulled the pads, pulled the rotors, and even the lines. And after pulling everything apart, I could see that the OE pads actually had a lot of life left on them, so I was kind of like, do I replace them kind of while I'm in here, or what? And I decided I was just gonna replace everything, kind of hold on to them for like an emergency situation and kind of just send it. I've never done lines, and that's kind of where I tripped up a little bit because I was just kind of scared of ruining the hardware, as weird as that sounds, and I actually rounded a nut on a hard line in the past. So I got you all zoomed in. This is the hard line nut. So I really hope this is as easy as I think it is. Ow! I just hit my face so hard on this thing. I laid out all the new stuff, and kind of here's what I decided to go with for the overhaul. So here's everything we're going to be using in terms of parts for the brake overhaul job. So here is a complete set of Centric parts, blank OEM replacement rotors. Here's a set of Street Performance brake pads by Stoked, followed by a stainless steel brake line set that's also going to be going on the car. So while I'm going over parts, I want to give a quick shout to Legacy Racing. Nathan, you are so sick, man, to deal with. Super fast on the uptake, so nothing but high quality service from Legacy. Definitely check out Legacy Racing if you're in the market and support small distributors. And I'm pretty sure Nate also just got a white S. Yep, super, super sick. So I decided on this setup in particular, truthfully, because it's about as cost effective as you can go without kind of going like the AutoZone route, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I did want to get like a little bit of performance out of a slightly more aggressive pad from Stoked, as well as kind of the preventative and like sort of safety measures that come with steel lines. Super sick. Super sick. Look at this thing. Oh, this thing is sick, dude. Look at that. Shoo! This thing is shiny. I've never bought like brand new brakes for any car I've ever owned. So this is literally my first time in my whole life ever buying new brakes and installing them on a new car. Yeah, cool. Started putting everything back together, and honestly just took my time with the whole process and kind of just enjoyed the vibe of turning a couple of nuts and bolts on the S and sort of reminding myself of how simple and functional not only like the braking setup is, but the car as a whole, and that's honestly why I love it so much. Rex also cruised out to give me a little bit of advice on how this project could have been simplified from like a farm life approach. Yeah, how does this compare to your farm trucks?
Oh, it's different. I've never seen a bracket like this.
It hits different, huh?
You have like a clamp,
which is...
You have like all the tools, bro. Farm life, you just either like squeeze it as hard as you can.
With your hands?
Or you get like a C-clamp. You get like a C-clamp.
Oh, those are XLs, dude. Damn.
I know. It's like,
dude, those are too big for
you.
you.
When you were little and you like put on your dad's clothes.
Yeah.
You have the 17 somewhere? You don't just have a wrench? You use the socket?
I mean, yeah, it's faster. Cavemen use wrenches. If you want me to get you a wrench.
You asked what farm life was like. Old school, baby.
I also had to explain to my neighbors on like several occasions why I'm out here just talking to a camera by myself. New brake lines, and we should be cherry. You hanging out? Yeah. Don't mind me, dude, just talking to a camera in public. The neighbor's cool, man. He's a cruiser. He kind of just like walking up and down the street, and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" And I'm like, "Hanging out, filming videos, talking to myself or whatever." And he's like, "Cool." So after putting everything back together, I thought, well, I might as well hit him with like, you know, a wire brush, just kind of quickly, you know, scuff them up a little bit, loosen up the dirt. And then I thought, okay, fine, you know, I've come this far, I might as well, you know, I guess I might as well clear coat them. I should probably try to get as close to doing it right as possible. So I pulled everything off the car that I just installed and greased, cleaned it all off, and then prepared for paint. So I pulled everything off, masked everything up, and proceeded to kind of lay down a couple of layers of clear on the brakes. So we're on the third round of clear coat, and the brakes are looking pretty good. So these are all the exposed surfaces that I really only scuffed with the wire wheel, which is why I didn't go through the trouble of painting them, is because, you know, all I really wanted to do was kind of bring a little bit of shine back to the actual coating that was already on them. And I did that, but everything on Instagram and everyone on the internet pretty much told me, dude, you should just paint them or whatever, you should just clear coat them. And so I caved in and I was like, okay, fine. I listened to them and I painted them, or I cleared them anyway. So this was kind of the cheater way to just kind of get out of bringing a little bit of more shine back to them without having to disassemble them, and kind of just go even further down the rabbit hole. So the day I actually finished the brakes, I was due to drive up north for some driving that I kind of told you about in the beginning of the video. So I was literally so scared the entire time because I thought, that's it, I'm gonna slide off the mountain and no one's gonna be able to help me. I did my best to kind of get everything as squared away as possible, you know, checked my specs, you know, made sure that everything was good to go, nut and bolt tested everything. And it actually worked out perfectly. No issues the entire trip, which is, you know, super fun and led to literally like the coolest, you know, coolest driving experience I've ever had behind a wheel in my whole life. And it's just, it was such a vibe, man. So if you haven't checked out those videos, like definitely check those out because they're, you know, super rad. I had a lot of fun making them. So I do have an opinion on the braking setup, and it's not a fully developed opinion, but I was able to slap them on and throw like 2,000 miles on the car. So I think I have enough kind of experience to sort of give a quick initial impression. So I did do some really spirited driving in the mountains, and I can tell you that the performance of the setup is pretty much identical to stock, definitely no better. The initial bite as compared to stock is pretty unimpressive, but I say that with a grain of salt because I did end up buying, you know, street components, right? Like everything that I bought was designed to be used on the street. But that was all I was looking to do, you know? I really wanted to just kind of set a benchmark for how the car performs sort of in its like OEM factory spec to kind of get an idea for what I'm getting myself into. That being said, I knew that the car was going to stop, and that's all I was looking for. And that's really all it took to have as much fun as I did, man. It was still, you know, it was rad. You know, the car did stop when I wanted it to stop, and it was perfect. You know, it was a really solid choice. Overall, super happy with the braking performance from the components that I selected, and I think that I did a pretty good job sort of picking what is sort of within my skill level. So I think it worked out really well. Going forward, I'm definitely stoked to kind of train my brain to kind of better understand how braking components compare to stock. So it's going to be a cool process to kind of get, you know, more familiar with like how the system can be improved and kind of all those like nerdy things. So that's kind of what's coming up next from like a performance standpoint, I think. So I'll be sure to update you when I have updates.